The Allies are forcing the Nazis to retreat. General Dwight D. Eisenhower believes World War II will soon be over. But Adolf Hitler has a deadly surprise, and the weather will be his ally.
They attacked under the worst possible conditions, but they knew they were going to do it, they were ready for it, and we were not.
On this episode of When Weather Changed History, U.S. soldiers fight in a battle that will change the course of the war during one of Europe's coldest winters.
We were cold, we were hungry, we were fearful.
Guys were getting killed around you, and you were next.
General Patton is saying our great enemy now is the weather.
December 1944. Tens of thousands of Allied soldiers take position along the German border. For weeks, the weather has been miserable, with temperatures in the low 30s. Heavy rain turns to sleet. It is gray and bleak.
This was absolutely abnormal rain. Rain had inundated the field. The infantry could not get in the foxhole because it was filled with water.
6 months earlier, the Allies had stormed the beaches of Normandy. Ever since, they have forced Hitler's troops into a steady retreat through France and Belgium. Europe's supreme Allied commander, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, had made a confident bet with the English general Bernard Montgomery.
It was a $5 bet that the war would be over by Christmas, which is an indicator of the overconfidence of the Allied commanders. And then as the Allies got closer to Germany, things got bogged down. The supply lines were overextended, and they didn't have enough well-trained troops to engage the Germans.
Operating from Allied headquarters in France, General Eisenhower decides to rest his men and prepare for a large offensive to crush what they believe is a demoralized German army. In preparation for that attack, the 99th Infantry occupies the Ardennes forest region of eastern Belgium. Cy Reitman, an 18-year-old private from Atlantic City, New Jersey, has yet to see any action.
They took new divisions like ours and put them online in the Ardennes with the idea that the Germans would never try to break through there because there's a lot of hills and rivers and streams, and it's very difficult territory, heavy forests.
It was a very rugged, inhospitable area, not many roads. What it was famous for was these sort of mists that would hang around for days sometimes. Very, very difficult terrain to fight in, let alone move through.
Allied commanders have placed the 9th Army and a large portion of the 1st Army north of the Ardennes. Lieutenant General George S. Patton Jr.'s 3rd Army is stationed along a 100-mile sector south of the forest. Some call the Ardennes the Ghost Front because there has been minimal engagement with the enemy.
Things were sort of stagnant at that time. They strung us out on a line much longer than a division should hold. So we're very, very thinly protecting the area.
I think our leaders made an assumption that that was a safe area. So they committed forces that were new in Europe to go there.
The front in the Ardennes is quiet, but adjusting to the harsh weather conditions is not easy. It's damp and bitterly cold, and the soldiers have not received their winter uniforms. Lieutenant General Omar Bradley has limited supply capabilities, so he made a difficult choice.
General Bradley had made a deliberate gamble. He had decided to ship gasoline and other material to the front lines rather than winter gear, uniforms, coats.
We were dressed in attack equipment, which meant we had a light jacket and we had a a raincoat and no blankets, no heavy gloves. We were inadequately prepared with our clothing, and our shoes were not waterproof.
General Bradley hopes these uniforms will suffice until warmer gear arrives. As long as the troops are not subjected to battle conditions, they can survive. But Lieutenant General Patton, commanding the Third Army, is troubled by the lack of winter uniforms.
What worried General Patton was the weather. And Patton said just before the Battle of the Bulge, we need to solve this problem because it's going to defeat us, not the Germans.
December 16th, early morning. The forests of eastern Belgium are cloaked in thick fog. The temperature drops below freezing. Spending day upon day in an ice-cold foxhole is nearly unbearable.
We're all very cold. We're always shivering.
We couldn't light a fire because if we lit a fire, the smoke would give our position away. So there was no way to really get warm.
On the German side of the front, it is equally cold. But these soldiers have long coats and winter gear. At 5:30 a.m., as the fog thickens, the order passes through the Nazi ranks to fire.
All hell broke loose. Never heard so much artillery in our lives. It was the biggest bombardment, and you could hear it coming.
As stunned American soldiers shelter deep in their foxholes, the deafening attack goes on for more than 30 minutes.
You'll never forget the sound of a 88 artillery shell coming in at you.
Most of us lost some sense of hearing because of the artillery.
The unexpected enemy barrage is horrifying and deadly.
They had what were called tree bursts, and that's where an 88mm shell would explode when it hit the top of the tree level. And people would be killed by not so much the shrapnel, but by the pieces of wood that you'd be killed by splinters.
And the way to survive that was not to be on the ground, but to be against a tree.
What will soon become known as the Battle of the Bulge is now underway. The blasts knock out many of the U.S. communication lines between units. Commanders in the field don't know if the attack is localized or widespread.
I was near our headquarters, and the regiment just said they lost contact with division. And then pretty soon, battalion said they lost contact with regiment. We didn't know what was going on.
But for those on the front lines, it soon becomes clear that a formidable German force is on the move.
This was massive. This was infantry divisions, this was tank divisions.
13 German infantry divisions and 7 panzer or tank divisions. More than 200,000 soldiers in all attack in 3 areas of the Ardennes.
Through the falling snow and mist, you see Eastern Front veterans with SS insignia and huge, groaning, rumbling, roaring panzer tanks firing away at you.
There was so much confusion. Our outfit and other outfits like ours, first time online, had no real combat experience.
Thundering through the porous Allied front, the Germans passed by some of the 99th Infantry's forward positions.
They just went right around us and continued on. So we ended up behind German lines.
There was a distinct lack of respect for the ordinary GI among many of the German troops. They used to call them gangsters because they all thought they were Italians from Chicago, and you know, the first time they were fired at, they'd run around and they'd turn tail and run back to their mummies.
Hitler's troops next begin to surround large portions of the 106th Infantry Division on the Schnee Eifel, or Snow Mountain in eastern Belgium. Taken completely by surprise, thousands of American troops are now fighting for their lives in bitter cold conditions. As night falls, the American line is in complete disarray. The snow and fog magnify the chaos.
It was probably one of the most hectic times, I think, in the history of our warfare.
Coming up, Rain, fog, and snow aid the Germans as they rumble through the Ardennes.
Low, thick cloud cover was absolutely essential, and that's what they got.
Hey, how's the taxes?
I'm stuck.
Stuck, eh? Maybe you should get some people to help us. Oh, that's right. We didn't use people. We used a box. Well, maybe you should tell the box you're stuck.
I'm stuck.
Tax Cut from H&R Block is the only tax program that gives you direct access to H&R Block tax professionals.
Hello?
Even when you do it yourself with Tax Cut, you got H&R Block. You got people.
How can you not want to?
I mean, if we don't do this now, when are we gonna do it?
I know you want to.
It's not like the world is gonna end.
I mean, what's stopping us?
I guess I could make a couple of calls, move some things around.
I guess a couple of extra days wouldn't hurt. Okay, let's stay.
We're staying. I'm calling the office tomorrow.
Really?
This is gonna be great.
You think they'd even miss us?
Not for a couple of days.
Let's talk Colorado at Colorado.com.
Kill the cough. Halls with vapor action. Starts working in 10 seconds.
Introducing new Sleep Fast, an amazing new way to get to sleep fast. Within minutes, the Liquipulse capsule releases a liquid matrix to help you fall asleep fast. Then, Sleep Fast microbeads time release their contents to help you stay asleep and sleep better. Sleep well. Wake up refreshed. Get new drug-free Sleep Fast at Walmart, GNC, and stores everywhere.
December 1944. World War II is in its 6th year. The German army has launched a blistering surprise attack against American troops in the Ardennes region of Belgium and Luxembourg. Fog, rain, and snow make fighting the enemy more difficult, and most U.S. troops don't even have cold weather uniforms.
My outfit fought in their Class A wool uniforms, the kinds we would wear if we went out on leave, a weekend in town or something, with a tie and everything. That's what we had. Those were our winter uniforms.
The Germans, on the other hand, are prepared, even utilizing white camouflage coverings in snowy conditions.
When they wore white uniforms, it was very difficult to see them. If somebody spotted them, we'd all fire in that direction. And you don't know whether you hit them or not.
The German attack has taken General Dwight D. Eisenhower and the Allied High Command by complete surprise.
They were caught napping that their intelligence had been absolutely disastrous.
Unknown to the U.S. Army, Adolf Hitler has been amassing this attack for weeks. The Fuhrer calls the offensive Wacht am Rhein, watch on the Rhine. His goal, take the strategic Belgian port of Antwerp, and in the process, split the British and U.S. forces.
He wanted to divide the Allies and say, look, now's the time for us to negotiate peace. If he succeeded in this last gamble, then he could take his troops fighting the Allies on the Western Front and throw them at the Soviets on the Eastern Front.
For Hitler's watch on the Rhine to succeed, he needs cloudy skies to keep Allied aircraft grounded. An air attack could wreak havoc on the advancing German forces. So far, the weather has cooperated with the Nazis.
They attacked under the worst possible conditions, but they knew they were going to do it, they were ready for it, and we were not. So the advantage went to them.
They went right through us, and it was a rout, really.
U.S. soldiers battled to hold back the onslaught, but the large Nazi force overwhelms many of the units. After the first day of fighting, the Americans have sustained heavy casualties. One German unit in particular is slashing through the American defenses. It is the advanced detachment of the 1st SS Panzer Division, commanded by one of Hitler's most loyal officers, Colonel Joachim Peiper. Piper commands 100 tanks and 5,000 men. His goal, blitzkrieg his way through Belgium.
They used to call him Blowtorch Piper, because when he went into different villages, he would defeat the village and then blowtorch it. Buildings, women and children. And he was the guy on whose shoulders the operation rested.
December 17th, because Piper cannot transport prisoners, he orders their execution. Near the town of Malmedy, his men machine gun more than 70 American POWs. The murdered men are left in a snowy field.
We didn't hear about this on the radio, we didn't read about it in the newspaper, but somehow the news gets around, and it traveled like fire through dry brush.
It quickly becomes known as the Malmedy Massacre.
It encouraged the Americans to fight harder, to be fiercer.
It was just anger, complete anger. We were told, don't take any German prisoners anymore, and we didn't.
The brutal massacre plays on the mind of Sergeant William Tooley.
We had to find this observation post and eliminate it. We left 4 dead Germans there. I will be honest with you. I was thinking of Malmedy.
By the end of the second day of the battle, General Eisenhower at Allied headquarters has a better picture of events in the Ardennes. Through intercepted and decrypted German communications, Eisenhower now knows the size of the Nazi force. It is massive, at least 25 divisions strong. The spearhead of the German attack is creating what looks like a bulge into Allied territory. General Eisenhower makes a quick decision to counter this offensive by sending 2 armored divisions into the battle, one from the north and the other from the south. Sergeant Jack Ott from Brooklyn, New York, is with the 101st Airborne.
On the 17th of December, the second day, we were told to get ourselves together for an evacuation to the front.
But mud and ice make getting to the battle extremely difficult. Major Al Erzik is a commander in General George S. Patton's 4th Armored Division.
My battalion moved all night under blackout condition. These are terrible, slippery, icy roads, gray, as miserable as it could possibly be.
But the bad weather also limits the Germans' ability to attack. Because of the flooded fields and mountainous terrain, tanks and other armored vehicles must travel primarily by narrow roads, which slows down their progress. Hitler commands his forces to quickly take control of strategic towns where major roads intersect.
He gambled on speed, absolute force, and the weather.
So far, the Germans have been successful, taking town after town. Coming up next on When Weather Changed History, unless U.S. soldiers hold back the Nazi onslaught, the war could take a terrible turn.
It was the worst setback for the Americans during the Second World War. It was touch and go.
May we have quiet? Thank you. Quiet in the stadium, please. The ball was out.
What?
The ball was out. Sorry. Does anyone have a Ricola?
Troublesome cough? Soothe it with a naturally effective
Ricola. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Honey, is this suit too revealing?
It's fine, Carol.
I like this place.
Don't get stuck with the wrong hotel. Book your room at Hotels.com, where our guest reviews offer real opinions from real Hotels.com customers, making it easier than ever to find the perfect room. Log on or call our certified experts now. Hotels.com. We know hotels inside and out.
on the next When Weather Changed History. The storm that forever changed air travel.
Basically, this plane just fell out of the sky.
Everyday heroes risked their lives for people they've never met.
Something just hit me. It was another human being in very serious trouble. So I take my boots off and I dive in after her.
What caused the Air Florida tragedy? When Weather Changed History, Sunday at 9 Eastern, only on the Weather Channel.
It is wrong that loved ones in nursing homes are neglected.
It is wrong that these people who have given so much receive so little.
What is really wrong is that some nursing homes put profit ahead of people.
Our seniors deserve better. At Jacobs & Goodman, we're fighting to right these wrongs.
When you see or hear about nursing home neglect or abuse, call us.
Help us fight to make these wrongs right.
Call Jacobs & Goodman.
Look for us in the white pages, because we care about you.
What if a comet were to strike the Earth's surface? What if a catastrophic earthquake were to hit New York or LA? Or, say, a giant glacier collapsed, causing monumental flooding throughout the planet? How would the world handle a disaster of such mega proportion? What would be the ultimate result? And most importantly, are we prepared? Now, the History Channel answers these questions as we confront our biggest disasters yet on Mega Disasters, Tuesdays at 10.
December 18th, 1944. Adolf Hitler gambles on one last major offensive along the Western Front in hopes of turning the tide of the war. So far, cloudy skies, rain, and snow have hampered the Americans' ability to fight. Outmatched on the front lines, U.S. soldiers defend their foxholes.
You lived in a frozen hole. Your feet were frozen. Your feet were cold all the time. If you come out during the daytime, they shoot at you. If you had to urinate, you urinated in your helmet and then threw it out. And anything other than that, you waited at night and got out of your hole at night.
Town after town falls to Hitler's forces in the first 72 hours. The bulge in the front line is growing. Then on December 19th, day 4 of the battle, the Germans target the key town of St. Vith, but U.S. forces stand fast.
Many of the crack German units were incredibly frustrated by the American defense. They stood and fought, and this slowed these SS troops down.
Acting quickly, General Dwight D. Eisenhower has strengthened Allied defenses in the Ardennes. British troops have joined the battle in the north, and General George Patton's forces are speeding up from the south. But on the Schnee Eifel, or Snow Mountain, the Germans score a major victory by forcing 2 regiments of the 106th Division to surrender. Over 7,000 men are taken captive. Unlike Hitler's SS troops at Malmedy, the regular German army does not kill the prisoners, but many of the captured forces are stripped of their jackets and extra socks. 35 miles to the southwest, the town of Bastone is under a Nazi siege. Like St. Vith, it is a major road hub.
If they broke through Bastone, they spread out into a network of highways that led into Antwerp and Liège.
U.S. commanders order their men to hold Bastone at all costs. Reinforcements rush in to take defensive positions. Sergeant Jack Ott and the 101st Airborne barely make it into the city limits.
We weren't in Bastone more than 5 hours. Then we were surrounded.
December 20th, the German 5th Panzer Army, commanded by Lieutenant General Hasso von Manteuffel, now controls all roads into Bastone. The Americans are completely cut off.
We could see the enemy and they could see us. And all we had was actually one another. You're depending on the guide to keep the area clear and you safe.
Freezing temperatures and falling snow make it even more important for the men to work together.
There was no time in the immediate future where they were going to go into a warm room. No time where they were going to have a hot shower. They were cold. You could not get any colder.
And supplies are running dangerously low.
We were isolated, pinpointed, with limited forces, limited ammunition, limited food.
Coming up next, against all odds and in horrible weather conditions, the determination of U.S. soldiers would change the course of the battle and history.
These guys fought back, and fought back with great ingenuity.
These days, it seems like they're trying to protect us from everything. Roll-On protects us from odor. Coffee has a warning label. This is hot. You think we're missing the point? Let's just keep our eye on the big ball. Protect us from the things that matter.
Quality and safety. Both can be yours with $1,000 cash back on a 2007 Santa Fe.
Hey, how's the taxes?
I'm stuck.
Well, maybe you should tell the box you're stuck.
I'm stuck.
Tax Cut from H&R Block is the only tax program that gives you direct access to H&R Block tax professionals. Even when you do it yourself with Tax Cut, you got H&R Block.
Is that the number one? Yeah. Is that the number two? Yeah.
Want something different? Try a breakaway basket from Longtown Silvers. Alaskan flounder with corn and pups or chicken with fries and pups, amazingly $2.99. Only at Longtown Silvers.
Coming up on the Golf Channel. Get ready for 2 big weeks. This week, watch all 5 rounds of the star-studded Bob Hope Chrysler Classic, hosted by George Lopez. Then next week, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson make their 2008 season debuts at the Buick Invitational. Can Tiger continue his winning ways by beating a Torrey Pines? 2 big weeks, 2 big tournaments. It all gets started with the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic, starting Wednesday at 3 and 9 p.m. Eastern on the Golf Channel.
Are you poisoning yourself with unavoidable toxins from the food, water, and air we breathe? Then you need Kanoki Foot Pads, the incredible detox system that naturally draws out toxins when you sleep. Look, Kanoki Foot Pads remove heavy metals, metabolic wastes, toxins, parasites, chemicals, cellulite, and more, giving you back your vitality and health. Use a fresh pad each night until the pad becomes lighter and lighter, and you'll feel better and better. In fact, this independent study proves Kanoki Foot Pads lower toxic materials in your body. Isn't that amazing? Ordinary detox takes forever. Beware of cheap imitations. Now on this exclusive TV offer, you can get Kanoki Foot Pads for only $19.99. But wait, call now and we'll double your offer. And if you ever need more, we'll send you a free supply for life. Just pay shipping and handling. We guarantee you'll experience a dramatic improvement in your health and well-being the very first time you use it or your money back. So don't delay. Order Kanoki Foot Pads today.
Closed captioning hours on the Weather Channel brought to you by Activon. Activon, applied directly where it hurts.
Activon Ultra Strength Joint and Muscle. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon. Safe and effective pain relief. Activon Ultra Strength Joint and Muscle. In stores now.
Your Local on the 8s is next. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern. A fascinating new series only from the Weather Channel. When weather changed history.
Currently, the temperature is 52 degrees under cloudy skies. Here's our local Doppler radar. For tonight, cloudy intervals, low 45. Winds north at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And on Wednesday, cloudy, high 71. Winds east-northeast at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Our week ahead.
December 21st, 1944, day 6 of the Battle of the Bulge. The Nazis, aided by the weather, have smashed through the Allied front in the Ardennes region of Belgium. Corporal Robert Cooper of the 517th Parachute Regiment finds it hard to keep track of his exact location.
I never knew a whole lot. I know it was cold and it was wet and it was snow, and then we faced the Germans, and it was one big battle after another, and guys were getting killed around you, and you wondered if you were next.
For a soldier on the front line, a good foxhole can be the difference between living and dying.
The ground was frozen so that we had to blow holes in the ground with C2, which was an explosive, and then to get them down deep enough, because if you weren't down deep enough, you were a dead man.
You wanted to be down below ground level because bullets would come at this height and the artillery would hit and throw shrapnel. And hopefully you wouldn't get a direct hit.
In many cases, small numbers of GIs are able to hold back much larger German forces.
It's an extraordinary achievement that these guys were able to hold their positions, fight, and buy time for the Allies to regroup.
In the northern section of the Bulge, Private First Class Cy Reitman and other members of the 99th Infantry have been stranded behind enemy lines for 6 days.
I found a blanket I threw over my shoulder. We were carrying ammo, but we ran out of food. I found a big can of string beans like that, and we cut that open, and that was a meal for a squad for one day.
December 22nd, Reitman rejoins his division.
We thought, good, we're back to the lines, and the Germans started to show us.
The 99th Infantry's artillery is slugging it out with the Germans along Elsenborn Ridge.
It was a windswept ridge, no tree cover, very cold, bitter wind chill, and you had to stay there and do the job. And if you got cold, tough.
We dug foxholes outside. It was just open field. There's no woods or anything, so you couldn't cover your foxhole with anything except your poncho.
The battle on Elsenborn Ridge saw the greatest artillery exchange in World War II. Continuous shelling, day in, day out.
By December 22nd, the 7th day of the battle, General George S. Patton's forces are nearing Bastone. For traveling in miserable weather conditions on icy roads, Patton's men had made excellent time.
Patton had a genius for moving armies very quickly, armored divisions in particular.
They say it's right around 222 miles in about 18 hours, something like that. And with no rest or nothing, ready for combat.
The foggy and snowy conditions make it hard for tank crews to target the enemy. Major Al Erzik is in command of the 8th Tank Battalion.
The gunner has a periscope to shoot through or a telescope. So when it's gray, it's very hard to see through, so it's much, much more difficult for the gunner. Your fingers are numb, your feet are numb, and you're generally cold.
Erzik and his men attempt to break through the German forces besieging Bastone.
We were attacked by about 23 German tanks, and worst day of my life.
Staff Sergeant Frank Dudash is a member of the battalion. Dudash watches as his fellow soldiers in Tank Company B get stuck in an icy swamp.
They sunk right there, and the crowds just picked them off like ducks. So a lot of them were killed there.
And as we were leaving, my tank was hit, and I was wounded. I got fragments in my right hand. And it's a miracle that I survived.
An airburst busted above me, and it hit me right here, one of the shrapnel on this part of my head where this bone is at. A little fraction would hit the soft part, I'd been gone. I wouldn't be here.
Fear and tension combined with the brutal weather conditions begin to take a toll on soldiers like George Fisher from Brooklyn, New York.
There's no way to describe the feeling you have
that goes through your body every single day. And when you see your buddies, some of your best friends being killed on a daily basis, it's just something you can't describe.
There were mounds of dead in front of us. And as they died, that's how they were. They froze in those positions. And when you looked out during the day, that's all, arms up there, legs extended, snow in their mouths, their eyes open, their eyes closed, and they could be within 30 feet of you. And our job was not to leave that hole.
I would have loved to just turn around and run the other way, but you just couldn't do it. Nobody could do that. We all had to stick together and stick it out.
Sergeant William Tooley from Hammond, Indiana, does his best to keep his men focused on survival.
I was 28 years old when I was in combat. You had to become a father figure to them.
But even Tooley succumbs to the pressures of battle and the effects of the bitter cold.
One of my men, he was a typical complainer, and he bitching about this and bitching about that, and it began to affect my men. Now it becomes a problem. And I picked up my rifle and I walked over to him, and I put it right here. And I said, if you say one more word, I'll blow your head off. And I meant it, but that's what stress will do. And the stress of waiting and under horrible weather conditions is far worse than fighting in weather conditions.
We're fighting not only the enemy, but these horrible, horrible weather conditions. This is a miserable feeling.
Your mind gets numbed when you get cold, and I think you're much slower reaction when you're frozen. You're so uncomfortable.
We would do night patrols to make contact, see how far away they had moved. Did they move back or forward at night? And I had a flute, and it was Lou Miglerese from Philadelphia. He said, "You sound like hell. Let me take your patrol tonight." So he took my patrol out tonight. The next I heard of Miglerese, he was dead. The patrol that he took out and subbed for me, he hit a trip mine and blew himself up, and he died. And I was heartbroken about Miglerese. And you ask yourself, why me? Believe me.
And we were cold, we were hungry, we were fearful. It was just the most horrible experience. You just, as I say, hope that you'd get through the day and get through the next day as well.
Private Terry McDaniel from Curtisville, Indiana, is with the 75th Infantry Division.
Up in a little town called Manhay, Belgium, in a little woods outside of town. I'm laying out there, just shivered, just one big shiver.
The weather conditions cause almost as many casualties as the Germans. Frostbite and pneumonia knock many soldiers out of action.
Most of the people who run around on the front line with combat boots that were wet through and through.
Prolonged exposure to the cold and damp conditions causes an affliction known as trench foot, which sidelines thousands of Americans.
General Patton is on record as saying, our great enemy now is the weather. The weather can defeat us, not the Germans. And he was referring specifically to trench foot.
Coming up next on When Weather Changed History, in his battle with the weather, Patton will ask for help from a higher power.
Happy anniversary pudding. The always punctual S80 from Volvo.
Lease a 2008 Volvo S80 for $379 a month for 24 months.
Visit your local Volvo retailer to see the full line of new Volvos. Volvo for life.
Holes. The patented design behind the rapid release of Tylenol rapid release gels. Because the faster medicine can get out, the faster it can start to work. Rapid release. Rapid relief. Stop. Think. Tylenol rapid release gels.
Kill the cough. Halls with vapor action. Starts working in 10 seconds.
Love the taste of fresh squeezed orange juice? Hey, hey, what you looking for? Hey, hey, looking for some more? Look no further than Tropicana Pure Premium. Hey, hey, what you looking for? We squeeze 18 fresh-picked oranges into every carton, so nothing comes closer to this than this. For that one-of-a-kind Tropicana taste.
Made by oranges, squeezed by Tropicana.
Honey, is this suit too revealing?
It's fine, Carol.
I like this place.
Don't get stuck with the wrong hotel. Book your room at Hotels.com, where our guest reviews offer real opinions from real Hotels.com customers, making it easier than ever to find the perfect room. Log on or call our certified experts now. Hotels.com. We know hotels inside and out.
December 1944. For weeks, cloudy skies, driving rain, and bitter cold have slowed down Allied forces. Three-star General George S. Patton has had enough. He orders his chief chaplain to come up with a prayer to clear the skies. Just days before the start of the Battle of the Bulge, the prayer is sent out to Patton's men.
We got a card from General Patton, and on one side he had a Christmas message signed by George S. Patton. On the other side was a Christmas prayer, and it's quite an unusual prayer.
Patton's prayer asks the Lord to, quote, grant us fair weather for battle. Because the skies have been overcast for 6 days, General Patton and the U.S. Army desperately need a break in the weather so the Air Force can bomb the advancing Nazi forces. General Dwight D. Eisenhower is chomping at the bit to use air power, especially to help the battle-weary soldiers surrounded by German forces in Bastone, Belgium.
There was never a moment in Bastone that I could call happy. Every day that you were there, you found out someone you knew was dead or badly wounded and died of his wounds because he couldn't get medical supplies.
December 22nd, 1944, the 7th day of the battle. 25 miles northeast of Bastone, U.S. forces must evacuate the town of Saint-Vite, Belgium. But because the muddy roads are nearly impassable, it is likely that retreating forces will get bogged down and overtaken by the Germans. That night, a frigid Siberian high-pressure cell called a Russian high drifts in from the east. This cold front pushes out the moist air that has blanketed the Ardennes with fog and clouds. By the morning of December 23rd, temperatures drop dramatically. The cold snap freezes the muddy roads leading out of Saint-Vite, allowing the American forces to narrowly escape with their lives. In Bastone, the cold weather brings clear skies for the first time since the beginning of the battle. It seems like Patton's prayer for good weather had done the trick.
God listened to him and cleared the skies. It was very important.
The sun broke through, then all these B-17s, B-24s, B-25s up there, and the contrails following each and every one of the planes. Everybody's cheering and all that sort of stuff. You felt like you were going to win then.
Clear skies allow Allied commanders to unleash devastating bombing runs against the German forces. Nazi fighter pilots desperately try to intercept the Allied planes, But Hitler's air power had been greatly depleted by this stage of the war.
The German assault was really chewed up and stopped effectively by the greatest demonstration of air-to-ground coordination in the Second World War.
Then on December 26th, Major Al Erzik and Patton's 4th Armored Division break through the German line surrounding Bastone.
One of the first things that happened when we opened the road was the ambulances started coming out. They were desperate. They were hoping we'd get there by Christmas, so we were a day late.
The men who had valiantly held this key town receive a new nickname.
The battered bastards of Bastone. That's what the group was known. The 101st Airborne is still known as the battered bastards of Bastone.
Holding Bastone is a critical victory for the Americans. They have stopped the Germans from gaining access to the most important road junction in this part of Belgium. The days following Christmas mark a turning point in the battle. All along the Bulge, U.S. forces stopped the German advance. But the Battle of the Bulge is far from over.
We finally stopped them, and then the fight continued because we had to push them back.
January 3rd, 1945. The Americans resumed their offensive to once again drive Hitler's forces back across the German border. Slowly, Allied forces gain ground. But again, the weather dramatically affects the field of battle. The Siberian cold front that had brought clear skies to Bastone also brings more snow. Temperatures drop below 15 degrees.
And you didn't get the chance to dig in at night because the ground was so cold, you slept in blankets or under trees or whatever.
So we didn't gain much ground every day. If you pushed them back a mile or two during the day, we thought we did a great job.
During their retreat, the German army uses younger soldiers to delay the Americans.
We were controlling a line of trees, and all of a sudden, here comes a bunch of Germans, Krauts, as we call them, infantry, running towards us. Well, we killed all of them. We walked over there to look at who they were. They were German soldiers. I don't think any were over 16 years old.
In these extreme conditions, the infantryman's best friend is his M1 rifle.
All that we had was our weapon, and we took care of that as better than our food.
But the frigid temperatures make it hard to keep the weapon in working order.
You couldn't fire your rifles, it was so cold. And believe it or not, in order to free up our rifles, we put them all in a circle and we urinated on them. That made it a little warmer, so we could get the bolts to move.
As the soldiers push the German army back through the Ardennes, horrifying reminders of the battle are everywhere.
Seeing the burned out tanks, trucks, German bodies, American bodies frozen in all strange positions.
On January 23rd, 1945, the U.S. Army drives the Germans out of the strategic town of Saint-Vith, Belgium. 2 days later, on January 25th, the bulge in the front created by Hitler's attack is finally erased. Allied High Commander Dwight Eisenhower will soon send his forces across the Rhine River and into Germany. Tested by the Nazis and the weather, U.S. forces had prevailed and had changed the course of the war. That's next, in the conclusion of When Weather Changed History.
It's become one of the great sort of legendary stories of the Second World War, how these guys surrounded in bitter winter conditions held off overwhelming German forces.
I can't believe we're doing this.
believe I'm doing this.
I can't believe we're doing this. What do you think, Dad? Can we go again?
Come on.
Sure. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Let's talk Colorado at Colorado.com.
Plan your unforgettable winter vacation today at Colorado.com.
50's the new 40. 40's the new 30. Let's get real. You're worried about a few wrinkles? Come on. What should never grow old are your dreams, making them real. That's what keeps you young, and for that, you don't need a nip and a tuck. You need a plan.
Find out why more people come to Ameriprise for financial planning than any other company. Visit us at ameriprise.com/plan.
On the next, when weather changed history, the storm that forever changed air travel.
Basically, this plane just fell out of the sky.
Everyday heroes risk their lives for people they've never met.
Something just hit me. It was another human being in very serious trouble. So I take my boots off and I dive in after.
What caused the Air Florida tragedy? When weather changed history, Sunday at 9 Eastern, only on the Weather Channel.
I haven't slept in days.
At Bright House Networks, we're doing our best to eliminate the fine print surprises.
Something in the walls and ceiling, apparently. I first noticed them the night the phone company guy was here.
They lure you in, and then when you discover the deal's not what it seemed, you can't get out.
All night with the scratching and squeaking. Fees. I can't take it anymore. I can't. Infestation.
Bright House Networks, we don't tie you down because we know giving our customers the freedom to choose is part of the reason they choose us.
I can't live like this for the next 2 years.
We're trying to make every day easier. So one less asterisk, I think we're better off.
January 25th, 1945. The Battle of the Bulge is over. Germany will surrender in less than 4 months.
The greater victory in the Battle of the Bulge was a psychological victory. The Germans, from that point on, knew they were fighting guys that were serious warriors, just as good as them, and prepared to stand and fight, even though it wasn't their country. And that psychological effect really broke, I think, the spirit of the German army.
The weather at the beginning of the battle significantly helped the Germans. But in the end, it came down to the tenacity and flexibility of the American soldier.
We didn't give up. No matter how bad it was, we tried to do the best thing and fight. We weren't trying to be heroes or anything. We were just doing the job that we were supposed to do.
In that battle, the American GI came of age in the Second World War and earned the respect of every other fighting man in the world. They had to deal with the cold because it was cold. They didn't have the right uniform, the right equipment, so they had to make it up as they went along. They had to be inventive. They had to be creative. I think it is the greatest American victory of the Second World War.
The veterans of this brutal battle will never forget their fellow soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice.
I sit here today because men are dead. It's just that simple. And any man who's alive who came out will tell you that one of the reasons he's alive is somebody died in his place.
Over the 6 weeks of the Battle of the Bulge, 19,000 U.S. soldiers died. There were 81,000 casualties in all.
Anyone that was in the Battle of the Bulge, if you ask him, I don't care what he's done in later life, that period was probably the defining time of his life.
The bitter cold conditions in the Ardennes still haunt many who fought there.
When it gets to be a couple feet of snow and it's cold, yes, it brings back memories right away. In fact, it brings a chill.
I gave away my snow ties, gave away my overcoat, I don't have any winter clothing, and I'll never, ever, ever see snow again personally or walk in it. That's for sure. That's why I'm in Florida.
I can't think of many military stories where the weather has played such an important role in terms of being as important a factor as the enemy. As General Patton said, we can defeat the enemy, but we can't defeat weather.